But here's where most people wouldn't have even asked that question, because it did seem fairly obvious that yes, there were not two seats next to each other that were open. So she says, yeah, it's just these three and there's one seat over there. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. We'll just sit at a table. I don't really want to sit close to the door. And instead of seating us at a table, she just went to the other end of the bar and asked those guys to scoot over one seat so that two seats were available next to each other that we could sit at. Mm-hmm. And that sounds very inconsequential, but it sort of unraveled the entire rest of our evening. And that evening would not have happened had I not asked this very simple question about the bar seats.
Welcome back to the show, man.
Hey guys, welcome back to Something More Human, the show where we talk about human connection in the digital age. I'm Sam.
I am Elliot. And we have been married for 7 years. Wow.
That's crazy. So to celebrate our 7th wedding anniversary, we decided to do a weekend away somewhere that we haven't been before, and we committed to the long drive to Ouray. Usually we go 6.5 hours to Albuquerque, but we've never been in the direction, what is this, west?
Southwest.
And it's the Switzerland of America, so we're like, we should do this. We decided to spend a little bit of time in Ouray and Telluride. And something that I realized in preparing for this episode is that my sort of natural state of being is rejection therapy. And this is a perfect example of that. So we went to a brewery, and mountain towns this time of year are basically dead because we're in the off season. We're post-summer, pre-ski season.
And we didn't know that at the time, but it was kind of a shock to have like 75% of the businesses closed. But anyway.
Yeah, we didn't know this. So we just stumbled upon a brewery that was open before dinner time. And when we walked in, there's just people sitting at the bar. And the hostess said, would you guys like to sit at a table or do you want to sit at the bar? Generally speaking, we kind of love to sit at the bar because we love chatting with bartenders, baristas. I'm sure you've gotten the vibe of the kind of patrons that we are by listening to the show.
What kind of patrons are we?
That we're
loud,
like, we are just
won't shut up.
Yeah, we are chatting up people basically anywhere we go. And so I looked at the bar, and it's quite cold outside. So the only open seats that I saw were the 3 bar seats right next to the door. So I just asked her, are these 3 seats the only open seats at the bar? Because I couldn't quite see all of them. But here's where most people wouldn't have even asked that question, because it did seem fairly obvious that yes, there were not 2 seats next to each other that were open. What I didn't see is that there was a single on one side and a single on another side of these 2 guys. So she says, yeah, it's just these 3 and there's one seat over there. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. We'll just sit at a table. I don't really want to sit close to the door. And instead of seating us at a table, she just went to the other end of the bar and asked those guys to scoot over one seat so that 2 seats were available next to each other that we could sit at. Mm-hmm. And that sounds very inconsequential, but it sort of unraveled the entire rest of our evening. And that evening would not have happened had I not asked this very simple question about the bar seats.
Yeah, so this woman sits down next to us. You and I have already ordered our brews, and she is essentially doing what you like to do, which is eavesdrop.
Just a little.
On conversations. And not only was she eavesdropping, but she was kind of looking at, well, I think she could also hear what we were saying, so there's some context there, but she was also like looking at me, looking on Google Maps. And you and I, like the thing that we love to do, especially for this trip, because there wasn't very much to do in general, and we kind of knew that besides like taking hikes and going, driving down the $1 Million Highway, there wasn't going to be much to do besides eat and drink, which we love to do. So we're like trying to find places in Telluride, and we're looking at different articles and things like that, and reviews and threads and forums, whatever. And the 3 restaurants that we want to go to, that we have planned to go to choose from, are all closed. Mm-hmm. So we actually, in that moment, we're like, we had no idea what we were going to do. And then anyway, this young lady chimes in and was like, hey, I'm from here, and yeah, a lot of things are closed, but here are my 2 favorite restaurants. They're both open and they're incredible. You should go. And we were only, of course, planning on going to one restaurant, but when in Rome, and she could not, have said better things about both of them. So anyway, we went to a restaurant called Kazahana, and then we went to the National. Mm-hmm. And yeah, in writing about this episode and journaling a little bit, we both realized, like, as a result of you asking, because if it were me and we walked into the bar, I wouldn't have really wanted to trouble anybody. Not that you were troubling anybody, mm-hmm. but I would just say, I'll sit at this table close to the door. That's a little bit cold because I'd rather not like inconvenience someone. Mm-hmm. And you didn't really inconvenience her, but you did ask her if we could sit at the bar and to see if there were any other seats. And because we did that, we ended up going to Kazahana and the National. And while I'm not saying like we wouldn't have had as good of a time or wouldn't have been as in love as we were, because it already feels like a moment that we can recall with like, I don't know. I just know that it's like I know that it's a moment that we will always remember when like thinking about our life together.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, I think that we would totally say yes to going to 2 dinner spots in one night, but that's not something we would have ever come up with on our own. But because she spoke so highly of these places and we were just engaged in conversation with her, and we were like, well, we don't know when we're going to be back in Telluride. Would it make sense for us to just have like light bites and apps at both? And she was like, yeah, totally do that. That would be so cool if you guys have the time. And so even that, like that wasn't necessarily her idea. It kind of wasn't even our idea, but the way that the conversation unfolded really shaped the way that we spent our time together. And most people, I don't think, would have even asked about the chairs at the bar.
We're super opposite in that way. Like you're willing to ask, and I'm usually not. And what do you think? Do you think for you just comes down to like practice? Like you're just seasoned at being okay with someone telling you no matter what it is?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. One is the answer is always no if you don't ask. So I'm okay asking a question that I sort of anticipate that the answer is no to, just to see if somebody else sees it differently than I do. And there's a different option that I don't see. Because this is my natural state of being, honestly, in a lot of ways, and it's absolutely not yours in a lot of ways, I'm really excited to talk about the idea of rejection therapy and how we might leverage it in our own lives. So what even the heck is rejection therapy? At large, this is intentionally seeking out rejection in order to sort of desensitize yourself or to become more comfortable with being rejected. It helps us build resilience. For me, we'll get into this, but like when I think about rejection therapy, I'm not even thinking about ask things that you 100% know the answer is no to. Like, hi, could I borrow $100? But like asking questions that you normally would say, oh, that's super obvious. The answer is definitely no. Like there's not a seat at the bar. I can see it. And just see what happens. So through the lens of intentional human connection, I think that rejection is a huge part of what we shy away from when it comes to making new connections, striking up conversation with strangers, being just that one step more uncomfortable. And sometimes it really just comes down to a single question. So it can be as simple as asking somebody to sit with them. And we have this amazing voicemail from a listener. If you guys don't know, you can leave us a voicemail, and we love hearing from you. So let's listen to this one.
So I did a rejection therapy I started this week, and I wanted to fill you guys in. So I ended up going to the mall and asking this girl if I could sit with her in the food court. And she said yeah. And it was really cool because what I got to learn about her is that she was an author. And like she told me all about this book she's writing. And I thought that was really neat because I'm also writing a book. So I shared about my book. And it was just really cool to meet someone who's like-minded. And also, I never would have sat down and talked to this person had I not started putting myself through the rejection therapy stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I couldn't love this story more.
It almost sounds like we set that up.
Or like a rom-com. So besides thinking about things as the answer is always no if you don't ask, my number one tip for rejection therapy is to allow yourself to hope and expect the worst. And by that I mean, worst case scenario in this situation, you're at the mall, you ask someone if you can sit with them, they say no. That's literally the worst that can happen, okay?
Yeah, I would never do that. That takes some.
What if they
some
say
bravery.
yes? If they say yes, the worst that happens is you guys just sit there awkwardly. And then it's over. So I think allowing yourself to consider the worst case scenario also kind of opens you up to the realization that if this turns out to be the worst case scenario, it'll be over pretty fast.
Yeah.
And then I can go on with my life. If it's the best case scenario, sometimes you don't even know what that might be. She had no idea this person was an author. That had no idea that she was also a like-minded writer. That conversation and that connection would have never happened if she hadn't just tried to fill a seat.
Yeah, you're right. I never would have 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if I had to describe my wife in a genre of music,
Oh, I have no idea what you're about to say.
back then I would have been like, I don't know, I hope
Punk.
shoegaze or something. But you're you're hopecore.
Okay.
Hopecore
Is that music?
it's like some like real.
I thought hopecore was a TikTok trend.
Yeah, I think I'm making it up actually. I'm creating my own genre of music.
Got it. Okay.
Yours would be hopecore. Like
That's cute.
It's that's who you are. Listening to this from an objective perspective, as I'm trying to do right now in the moment, I'm like, this chick just wants people to have a good time in life.
Totally.
Because you have a pretty good time in life.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you realize it's not a big deal to be denied. Like
It's not that serious.
It's really not. Like
Yeah.
it happens all the time. It's not a big deal. Doesn't mean that you're, I don't know. I just don't, I'm the opposite. And I'm wondering like what exactly is it that I'm afraid of happening? And I think at the end of the day, maybe some people are more prideful than others and some people can't deal with someone saying,
No.
yeah, like for me, I think it's almost like shame, but even for small things like this, like I don't want to feel shameful that someone said, no, there are no places to sit at the bar. You have to sit at a table. Like what? That's just a human interaction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have an answer to that. Let me put a pin in it because I want to pull a different thread, which is like I'm having a good time in life pretty much most of the time. Something that we haven't really said is when you embark on rejection therapy, you have to come at it with no expectations and be kind and like friendly. Because if you're bringing kind of a shitty attitude or a bad energy, you're just going to be met with that. And I think that is a secret ingredient to a lot of the way that I live my life and how people interact with me is that I am genuinely just like curious and hopeful. And if the answer is no, like I'm not offended and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people understand that in the way that I approach them. And it just opens people up to meet you with that same energy, which goes both ways. So if you approach something with a negative energy, I won't be surprised if you get negative energy back.
Mm.
The next thing is about expectations, right? If you go into something, we said you can hope for the best, expect the worst, allow your brain to go to worst case scenario. If you hope for the best and then expect the best, expectation can very easily and sneakily turn into entitlement and disappointment. And now we're kind of back into bad vibes.
This goes all the way back to the beginning of our relationship.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, maybe the only reason that we're married is because of this thing that we're talking about, which is that I probably wouldn't have pursued you.
Did you pursue me?
Exactly. I know I didn't. That's my point. My point is that I was afraid of rejection.
I see.
And you were like, I do this all the time.
No, no.
You don't understand. No, I'm not saying like that. I mean, like I expose myself to rejection all the time is what I'm saying. Not like you ask men.
I pick up men all the time.
Yeah, that's your business. And I obviously I said yes for those that are listening that have probably heard the story very many times. Mm-hmm. And obviously this is way off track, but I'm thinking back to how our relationship started, and I think it's part and parcel. Back
to this thing that I put a pin in. In addition to being very scared of rejection, sort of at large as a culture, especially now that we're post-pandemic and we've sort of are in this space where we're relearning how to exercise our social skills, another piece of that is we went a multi-year stretch without being perceived very closely. And so when you ask a question that the answer may or may not be no or rejection, you are also asking someone to pay a little bit closer attention to you and to see you in a more attuned way. And so I think sometimes for you, that feels like something you would rather shy away from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That would imply that you like it or that you welcome it.
I'm saying that I'm not afraid of it. So my question about this episode is, do you think we avoid rejection or do we avoid being fully seen?
Ask the question again.
Do we avoid rejection or do we avoid being fully seen? I almost imagine like turning on the lights to a vampire and they're like, oh no, like, and you just back away from this bright light on you. Or like a slug, like we're searching for a shell, we're searching for this protection. And sometimes when we ask that extra question, we ask someone to turn their attention more fully to us. And I think for a lot of people, that in and of itself is scary, regardless of the outcome.
Sure. Is that because they have something to hide?
I think it's just a question to reflect on. Like, is it actually rejection that you're scared of? Or is it this moment where you go from blurry to in focus with another person?
That sort of flies in the face, though, of what you say a lot, which is like that we as human beings want to be seen, or at least most of us do. Do you think that's actually true?
I think that in the year 2025, 2026, like now that we're multi-years past pandemic time, that stretch of lacking perception from other people in real life sort of recalibrated the way that we experience attention. And the deeper we get into the attention economy and the deeper we get into letting it fly, that we're not giving each other our full attention, the more uncomfortable it is when you kind of take that extra step to garner someone's attention or their focus. And so my challenge is, yes, rejection is scary. And is it more than rejection? Can we start to become more comfortable with being in focus and with capturing someone's attention, even if just for a moment, even if just for a question? That turns out the answer is no.
Bars.
Speaking of bars, I have another example of this in action. This is one that I didn't even consider, and also hammering home the point of like, please just be nice. We went out drinking with some friends from my book club, one of the gals. It was her birthday. We go to a club, and I have not been to a lot of clubs in Denver, so I have no idea about this club. I don't know what the vibe is, but one of our friends that we were with has been here before. Unfortunately, there's a cover, and there's like 5 of us. And so my friend says, well, there's 5 of us, we're all women, and we're here early. Why don't I just ask the person taking money if we can get a group discount? And I was like, dude, I've never even considered negotiating the cover at a club. And we didn't get much of a discount, but we did not have to pay full price for all 5 of us, which is pretty cool.
Maybe that's the only reason why you asked for essentially if there was anything extra that these restaurants would give us as a result of it being our 7-year wedding anniversary.
Yeah, let me give you another example where the outcome is that the answer was no and nothing happened. We're taking this trip for our anniversary. I book the hotel. In the comments, I just add, we're celebrating our 7th wedding anniversary. Any additional touch of hospitality we would love, and it would be immensely appreciated. They didn't do a single thing. And that's okay, and I wasn't disappointed because I did not expect them to.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I think you can accept rejection when you also are not setting your expectations and basically setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah. I also think that I also think people undervalue themselves and think, oh, like what a privileged place to be where I should think that a restaurant or hope that a restaurant will give me something. And it's like, it's your anniversary and you're going there and you're spending money and people do birthday celebrations like free dessert all the time. Like why would I not ask them for this thing that it's totally okay if they say no?
Yes. I think another way to think about it is, besides the answer is always no if you don't ask, it's okay for everyone, for you, for the staff, for whoever's involved, if the answer is no.
Right.
And that maybe is where some of your discomfort, Elliot, comes from, is like you might feel embarrassed if the answer is no. And for me, I'm like, oh, that's okay. No worries. I just figured I'd ask.
Yeah, I think that's also a result of being someone who has an inner monologue and you being someone who professes to not, which I don't see how that could be possible. I wish I could go in there and see if you're actually telling the truth. Of course you're telling the truth. I just can't understand how you couldn't have one. My point is though, if someone says no, then there's a story that begins to unfold.
Right.
Like,
right.
Now this person's walking away from our table thinking like, who do these people think they are? Like, I'm going to spit in their food. Like, which is terrible. Honestly, that's a reflection of me and like how I think of people, which is like too judgmental. Like at the end of the day, I know that they wouldn't spit in my food.
Yeah.
Right. But like to even think that is ridiculous. And that says more about me than obviously about them. But
Sure. And this goes back to the energy that you bring. If someone tells you no and then you kind of throw a tantrum, why would they be nice?
Exactly.
But if you keep your energy positive and kind, oh, no problem. That is no big deal at all. I just wanted to ask. Oh, don't worry about it. I just figured I would ask. Or it doesn't hurt to ask. If you can sort of maintain, I think that kindness and positivity, I from my perspective, am not thinking, oh, they're upset with me now, or they don't like me, or I've inconvenienced them now, because I am the same person that I was when I asked as I am when I was rejected. Do you know what I mean?
Sure do.
So I have a list. I found a Reddit thread of a bunch of different recommendations. Some of them I totally don't like, and some of them I think are really great. So I wanted to run them by you.
Are they like in any sort of order, like strongest to weakest, or no?
No, they're in no order.
Okay.
Make brief eye contact with people on the street. This is nonverbal rejection therapy. I do this literally every single morning when I walk the dog. I tell people, morning. And I would say more often than not, people don't say anything back. Or even sometimes we're walking past people and I'm like this. For those of you that are just listening, I'm just smiling. I'm looking at them and smiling, waiting for them to just glance at me as we pass. And people avert their gaze the whole time. So that is rejection in a lot of ways. It does get to me on occasion, but I think, I'm doing that regularly multiple times a morning. Ask someone in a public space, do you have a pen by chance? You must have a notebook or some kind of thing that you would write on to borrow it. I think
Then write down your number and give it to them unsolicited.
No, I think this is a good one because it's pretty likely that the answer is no. And it's so harmless if the answer is no that it's like, oh yeah, no worries.
This is really exposing how much free will we have if you choose to do these things, because it seems so insignificant and inconsequential to ask someone to borrow a pen when you don't actually need one, just to test a hypothesis or expose yourself to rejection. I would never ask someone for a pen.
I think that I'm going to challenge you to do some rejection therapy in the next 10 days.
Yeah.
Just small stuff. Ask someone for directions on the street that you actually don't need to go anywhere. So you don't need directions. It's okay if they don't give them to you. But to me, this practice is twofold. It's one, overcoming actually asking someone something, and two, it's finding a way to be water off the duck's back when they say no.
I have a good one. When you're at the coffee shop and you're in line and someone's in front of you, before they pay for their drink, chime in and ask them, hey, would you mind paying for mine too? I forgot my wallet. I'm so sorry. I'll get you back somehow, some way. We can Venmo or something. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But imagine, I feel like there's sort of still some kindness in there somewhere. But I was thinking, what would be the opposite, or the super extreme of something that I put myself in a situation to do or to be involved with. And it's you can't ask. I mean, you can ask someone if you can buy their drink. That doesn't seem very difficult to do. I think.
Well, no one would say no.
Well, I think some people actually would say no, but not too many. But what if you ask somebody, hey, I know you don't know me, but I just realized I don't have my wallet on me or my phone. Do you think you could buy my drink?
That actually happened to us. We were at the train station buying a ticket to go to the airport, and someone came up to us and said, my card is not working in the machine. Can you buy my ticket to the train?
That's crazy. Yeah, that did actually happen.
And she said, I'll Venmo you, but my card is not working. I need to get a ticket, obviously, to go on the train. And we said, yeah, no problem. And she was extremely grateful.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, nice.
Invite someone to coffee. Hey, do you want to get a coffee sometime?
I got ahead of myself. So you invite them to coffee, and then you let them pay for you, and you ask them if they can buy your drink.
You can. Okay. You can. Sit next to someone in public when you could have sat in a different seat. Hey, is the seat taken? And depending on where you are in the world, you might be received differently. You know, like if you're in New York where people are a little bit gruffer on the outside and really do not want you to sit next to them if you can help it, they might say no, which is totally fine. There are plenty of seats, right?
Yeah.
Asking for a 10% discount. Because
Asking
again,
for a 10% discount?
yeah. Or like, hey, do you do birthday discounts? Do you do, I'm celebrating something. Do you do any discounts? Because again, they can just say no and it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Here's another example of the exact same. We are celebrating our 7th wedding anniversary.
Exactly.
If there's any additional hospitable thing that you can do at dinner in Telluride, when I made the reservation, I wrote that little note. They made a custom message on our menu and gave us little cheers shooters of champagne. Not a full glass of champagne. Again, it's fine. It's the gesture. It was totally fine that the hotel didn't do a single thing because I didn't expect them to. I hoped that they would, but I didn't have any expectations that they would. And it was so nice that they did that at the restaurant because it just made it feel a little bit more special.
Well, let's practice really quick. Ask me a question, a yes or no question, or something that I could possibly reject you on.
Do you know how to braid hair?
No. Could I learn? Come on.
I did ask Elliot to paint my nails semi-recently, and you did. You did an okay job, too.
Semi-recently, yeah. That was probably 9 months ago, 6 months ago. I could learn to braid your hair. I feel like there's 3 pieces. It can't be that hard, right?
I think you could learn for sure.
Are you asking me to braid your hair?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can do that.
Yeah. Okay, your turn. Really quick, while you're thinking, have you seen the trend on TikTok of women with a claw clip, and they go up to men at a party and they're like, "Hey, can you just put my hair up for me really quick?" Like men that she knows, like, "Hey, could you just put this up for me?" And
Yeah. What happens?
oh,
What's the percentage? What's the success rate?
Oh, they couldn't be doing it worse. But you grew up with sisters, so I feel like you could at least do a passable job.
Will you let me pick the next show we watch and you have no veto power?
No. I have no veto power?
That's why I don't ask questions. That's why
Well, you have to.
I've been rejected, and that feels shameful.
No?
And it feels
No.
no. You're telling me how to feel. No, it doesn't. What you're feeling is not shame. You're feeling.
Okay, the point of rejection therapy is not to like get a bunch of free shit. The point.
This isn't free.
Listen.
We already paid. We already paid
No,
for the
no,
subscription.
No, wait, listen. The point is not to experience all this abundance of yes. That is an excellent benefit and a cherry on top of the exercise. The goal is to become more resilient to hearing no.
This got to get clipped, dude. This got to get clipped, man. This has
Like,
to be its
take
own.
it out?
This has to be its own 2-minute
Clip that.
for men. Beware.
Stop. You're so dramatic.
I'm curious. I'd like to watch the next show, and you have no veto power.
You are expecting me to say yes, which is the problem.
Oh, I'm hoping you say yes. Am I disappointed that you said no? Yes.
The point is that don't have expectations so that you can be like, oh, it's totally fine.
It's totally fine.
It is totally fine.
It is totally fine because we won't. That's never happened before, and now it will continue to never happen ever again. You know what I mean? So I know that you don't realize that that's my reaction, but the way that I'm living is I know it'll be fine because we'll just watch Bob's Burgers like we always do. We'll just watch the Great British Baking Show, and that's fine, and I can just watch it on my own. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's all I got. I just wanted to ask you that, just to see. There's a show I was telling you about it, Pluribus. The director of Breaking Bad, same director. Mm-hmm. It's a show about aliens. You want to watch it with me?
Not really, but
it's not like too scary.
Okay.
Or gory or dark. Maybe. Mm-hmm. You'll consider it.
I'll think about it. Sure.
You'll think about it, and you'll let them know on the next episode.
The moral of the story here really is to just try, and then to practice. Mm-hmm. Kind of just getting on with your life when you receive a rejection. Mm-hmm. Because it's not personal most of the time. And so how can you bring this really kind, positive energy to an interaction with a single question, maintain your resilience if you become rejected, and You absolutely never, ever, ever know what that one question might open up, right? Us sitting at the bar completely changed the way that we spent our entire time in Telluride. And we didn't know that when we said, oh, hey, is there space at the bar? Like, I see these seats, but is there a different seat?
Needless to say, we had a very good time. And The Big Bang Theory is my favorite.
Yeah, just that
And-
one small question, that one small action. Cascaded. It had a butterfly effect on our entire evening.
Yeah, and then we had an episode about it, and it keeps going. How far will it go?
Yeah. I mean, it started with you, Liz, who left us a voicemail. So if you all have a voicemail, thoughts, questions, concerns, stories.
Concerns.
Yeah, or like, I'm dealing with this thing. Like, I have a concern about human connection. We could talk about it.
Yeah, we can.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. See you later.